Good evening, everybody. Monday morning quarterback, episode 55. Hope you all had a good start to your week today. Weather is finally turning here in Indiana. We had a beautiful day, shorts and t-shirt. Actually just went and had some ice cream with Hudson, and it's beautiful weather, so we're enjoying it. Last weekend we were at the Kokomo Grand Prix for the USAC midgets, and CSI won it for the second year in a row. Had a really good weekend there. Tyler Courtney won the first night, and 5 of the top 6 were on our shocks, and Kevin Thomas Jr. won the second night for Petrie Motorsports, and I believe we had 3 of the top 5 the second night. So we've worked really hard on our midget program since Chili Bowl, and it's really starting to pay dividends, so we certainly appreciate all those teams that believe in our product and continue to give us feedback and help us grow. So this week we're going to head to Bloomington Friday for the USAC sprint car race there, and then shoot over to London, Ohio for 2-day Midwest Thunder Regional Quarter Midget race. So I might have somebody at Terre Haute for the Silver Crown race. Not positive yet, but yep, lots of travel. We're hitting it hard. I'm trying to hit personally as many races as I can here leading up to our baby coming in early May, and then me breaking away for a couple weeks there to do the Indy 500, where Jake and Trevor will handle most of the travel there. So kind of had an open forum tonight. Figured most of you guys are off and running, racing, and are going to have some questions. So thought I would let you guys kind of steer the ship tonight and ask questions as you will, and we will answer those. I've had a few guys message us, and so I will handle those questions first. And one of the first ones, and it's kind of a common one we get, I brought a little prop in to show you. So this is the end of our inflation tool. Most all of the manufacturers use the same end, and it's a really high quality piece. It's actually a fairly expensive little sucker, but inside of it, let's see if you can see, inside of it there's just a little copper crush washer, and that is what's sealing on the Schrader valve housing of the shock to hold pressure and give you a reading. So over time that copper crush washer will get crushed to where it can't be used and it doesn't seal anymore. And you have a couple options there. You can replace this whole T-handle thing, which is about 45 bucks, or you can put an O-ring in there and then replace the O-ring every month or so. And we actually use O-rings here at the shop because we go through so many ends, and we just replace them every so often, and they seem to work pretty good. You just got to be careful to not over tighten it. But if your shock is losing pressure, there's a good chance it's from the gauge and it's not the actual shock. We've discussed this before, but the dead giveaway on the shock is if oil comes out of that Schrader valve housing, you definitely have a problem. If not, it's going to be one of two things. Either the valve core needs tightened in the housing, the spring has went out in the valve core, which that's pretty rare. I've only seen that a few times. Or the number one culprit, your gauge is not sealing on the Schrader valve housing, and we're going to need to replace either the T-handle or put an O-ring in there to get it to work. So this little guy, along with a page of about 30 other items, are going to be added to our web store. You guys have been awesome buying stuff like crazy on our web store, and we've been keeping notes of things that people want that aren't on there, and so we're adding a bunch of accessories to the web store this week. Actually meeting up with the photographer tomorrow to take pictures of all the things, and we're going to get a bunch of stuff added. So see if we got any questions here. Mark Ashcraft, Java timeout error when trying to submit pit logic sheets, known issue. This is the first I've heard of this. Okay, Kevin's already reached out to you. Kevin's the best. He's superstar tech support with the Pit Logic app. But yep, I was just going to ask Kevin if he'd heard of it, because I haven't. We've got, gosh, I don't know now, over 100 users on the platform, and this is the first I've heard of it. So So yeah, Kevin will reach out to you there. And as far as Pit Logic news, we haven't got the question yet, but we always get the, when is the iOS going to be ready? We do have some good news as far as that's concerned. We don't have a date yet, but we've been back and forth with them. The communication has been good, and the subscription portion of the app has been approved, and so now Kevin can implement that in and then submit kind of the whole package, which should be the last step. The biggest hurdle was getting through kind of all the other stuff and approval process with them, so Kevin's been working really diligently on that, and so it's coming soon, guys. Appreciate it. Guy says if you put oil on the O-ring, it helps, and I assume he's referring to the T-handle there. Yeah, we cover a little bit of the clear grease that we use in the shocks with it, and that helps keep the O-ring in there and keep that working good. So while we're waiting for a few of these questions, we'll remind everybody that we're going to be live with iRacing again on Wednesday. So if you guys have not checked this out, I highly recommend it. The racing has been super good. It's like you're watching a real race, and what else are you going to do on a Wednesday night? This week it's 410 sprint cars from Volusia. We've had several people reach out that found out about the league late, and we haven't been able to get them in. We apologize. This was kind of a limited field, and we limited it to our customers, and we narrowed it from over 100 down to 50. So if you missed out, I'm sorry, but the good news is we're going to do a lot more of this. So we're going to have definitely more leagues and series, especially in the winter time, but we're going to do some big races throughout the summer. We've got some really cool promotions. We're working with several different people on it, so keep an eye on our social media channels, and that's where you're going to find out about it. We kind of promoted this league for a few weeks and held applications for a few weeks, and so if you missed it, I'm sorry, but keep an eye on our social media channels, because we want to make sure if it's something you're into, that you get involved in the next iRacing League. So it's been a lot of fun. Corey Day with the hard charge last week to take the win, and that was really cool to see. And Chance Crum had quick time. So it's neat to see a lot of our customers from all over the country competing with one another and doing very well. So looking forward to this week as well. Moose, how's it going this evening? Right rear bump rubber, sprint car use all the time or in certain conditions? So the optimum, Moose, is if you have enough travel that you can leave it on all the time, but then only really engage it when the track gets slick. So when it's really hooked up and heavy, there's not much of an advantage to it. So we would take it off if we couldn't get enough travel to not get into it. It can tend to make the car too tight. But when it slicks off, there's huge advantages there, and that's when you really want to get into it, when it slicks off. So, Jeff, sandy, bumpy, rutted, tight bull ring. Sounds like a great place to race. In theory, would okay, so would a twin tube shock be better than a mono tube in this? No. So any track where you're seeing high shock velocities and high displacements, which a bumpy rutted track would be, monotube shock is absolutely going to be better. It's going to react quicker, it handles heat better, has more control, more tunable with pressure. Everything about a gas shock is going to be better on a rough racetrack. You can make an argument that maybe a twin tube is better in a smooth slick track. I would argue that. I think a monotube still an advantage, but definitely on a rough track, a monotube shock's going to beat a twin tube every day. Scott, should I consider a softer right rear torsion bar when going with a progressive kit? Well, that's certainly an option. I typically recommend to just put the bump rubber on and leave the same bar, but one of the advantages to it is you can get softer on bar to initiate roll and then get into the bump rubber to load the tire. So at that point, you're kind of like a dual rate spring. So yes, you certainly can go softer on bar if you're getting into that bump rubber enough. Patrick, yes, we are going to Bloomington Friday and then midnight riding it to London, Ohio for a quarter midget race Saturday and Sunday. Kevin Baldwin, how much travel on the right rear at Mini Indy? Typically you're going to be an inch to an inch and a quarter or so, and we really want to look for even travel front to back. If we're just bottoming out the right rear and the right front travel looks good, I would definitely recommend going up on right rear spring rate. So yep, you don't want to be bottoming them out. All right, 40 or so of you guys tuned in. Anybody else have questions? Fire away. Open forum tonight. We figure you're all racing and we just want to answer some questions. While we are waiting for a couple more questions, a couple weeks ago we had you guys, or asked you guys to share a post trying to get us to 9,000 likes. We were overwhelmed by the support. I think we had 620 something people share the post, which was unbelievable. It's more shares than we had when Clausen won Chili Bowl in 14 or any of the other cool accomplishments we've had. So we promised you 500 bucks off a set of shocks for somebody, and we were so overwhelmed with everything we wanted to do another 500. We figured we would do 10 $50 gift cards to kind of spread the love around to multiple people, and so we're gonna give away 1,000 bucks here in just a second. So the first thing I'm going to show, since there was so many names I didn't pull out of a hat, there's a really cool random name generator called Comment Picker. So I just copied all the names to Excel and pasted them in there, and that's how we came up with the names. So the first group here, these are $50 gift card winners. So if you see your name on there, shoot me a email or DM and with your address, and we will get that mailed to you. I've got a bunch of them printed off right here. You'll get a lovely $50 gift card in the mail to use. And the grand prize winner we'll announce here in just a little bit. So if your name's on that list, you're getting 50 bucks, but you're not the grand prize winner, sorry. But at least you're getting something, and we certainly appreciate you guys sharing our post. Super awesome of all of you. So, okay, let's check and see what other questions we got here. Kevin battles progressive front spring on factor 1 or straight spring. Most any micro or midget for that matter, I think you have the best luck with a more linear spring. There might be some advantages to a progressive spring if you did some serious testing and development, but I think the gains will probably be minimal for the amount of effort it's going to take. So I would just stick with a standard spring. Kevin, 600 micro bouncing on corner exit, getting into the progressive bump rubber too much. Potentially. So if it's bouncing, if you feel like you're really loading it hard, and the one way to check would either be our progressive bump travel indicator or the pressure decals. But if you're getting into it too hard and you're loading it too much, you could see a hop. It's just loading the tire too hard. If you're not getting into it all and you got to bounce, we need to look at shock valving, torsion bar rate, gas pressure, etc. But that is a case. If you get into it too hard, you could see a little bit of a porpoise there. Mark Ashcraft, would you ever run a bump rubber just on the right front or left side? And this is a quarter midget question. We've seen heavy class cars running on the left side, trying to get it back to the right front when you have a bigger kid sitting right over that left rear tire. I have just ran it on the right front at times. Bank tracks where we're loading the right front too hard. We can't get it off the right front. We couldn't put a big enough spring over there. We've ran one just on the right front. So yeah, there is times. Definitely for me, right front only is more common than left sides. Joey, what does each shock adjuster do on a micro? It's a bit of a complex question. It depends on the shock. It could be a compression adjustable, rebound adjustable, double adjustable. Most of the time on a micro, they're all rebound adjustable or potentially a double adjustable right rear. We do have a few manufacturers that run a compression adjustable right rear. So if you want to shoot me an email with your shock serial numbers, I can tell you what exactly your shock is. Kevin, I was answering Kevin Battle's question on the spring. Kevin Koch, or Koch, however you say it, K-O-C-H, was the progressive bump rubber question. And there are a lot of Kevins. Kevin Baldwin, Kevin Battles, Kevin Crum, Kevin Koch. Paul Raines, any trick for greasy track? So to me, greasy and heavy are different. Heavy is track's got tons of grip. It's wet and got tons of grip. Greasy is you have to go out and wheel pack or hot lap right after the water truck, and you slip and slide, and it's the dirt's really, really wet but not sticky. So heavy tracks, you know, it's all about getting the car freed up and being able to roll the corner with as much speed as possible, where a greasy track's almost like a dry slick setup. So again, if you want to shoot me a DM on that, I'd be more than happy to help you specifically. I'd like to know what type of chassis you have, class you're racing, and track, etc. Kevin, the bump rubber indicators are for sale. Again, this was me having a million things on my plate, but that's one of the things we're adding to the website. But I do have them, so if you need one, we can ship those to you. Yep. Jimmy, you missed the pit logic for iPhone update, but the good news is they approved our subscription platform, and so now Kevin Crum is going to be programming that into the app to submit the whole package, and this should be the last step, and then once it's approved, we're good. So we kind of had to do multiple steps. It was way more complicated than Google, but we are making progress and have been going back and forth with them, so hoping to hear something very soon. Mark, yeah, so the maintenance template, Kevin Crum and I have talked about this as a future add-on. That's something that will be released after we get through all of this. So iOS is the #1 thing, and then through building the iOS platform, Kevin's got some other cool little features to clean things up. He's going to do that for all of our Android users, and then once we kind of get through that, then we'll start tackling some of the other requests we've had, and a maintenance checklist is one of them. So yep, that'll be coming later this summer. We're going to continue to refine and add things. Laura, you're digging the hat. Well, we can get you one. You're not going to London this weekend, I hear, because we'll have them there. But next time we see you, we'll get you a gray and white CSI hat. We are wanting to do more apparel. We put a post out and we got some feedback from some things. Guys are wanting some windbreakers and such, so we're getting some stuff going. We got our man Tim Cruz over at Arizona Sports Shirt working on some new designs, so we got some new apparel coming before summer here. Alright, no questions at the moment, so we will dive into the 500 grand prize winner. I was excited when it generated this person's name because I don't know them, and I was actually just telling my wife Maggie a couple weeks ago, man, I remember when I'd go to the racetrack and I knew every single person, and I'd talk to them on the phone, and I took the order and I built their shocks and I shipped their shocks, and we're blessed to be to the point that there's 7 of us here now, and I don't get to talk to everybody, and I don't know everybody who has our shocks. This particular guy, I have no idea who he is. I looked up into our system, and he has bought stuff from us, and he's from the East Coast, so he might have talked to Jake or Sam or my dad. I do make an effort to try to introduce myself to anybody that has our shocks when I'm at the track. So hopefully I get to meet this guy. But the winner of the $500 grand prize is Nick Sapp. And so how this works is it's $500 off a set of shocks. Could be any shock package you want, and we are going to take $500 off. So if you're Nick Sapp out there listening, or you know Nick Sapp, let him know that he won. And it is transferable. So if Nick doesn't need a set of shocks and he's got a buddy who does, he's just got to call and say, hey, I'm giving this to so-and-so, and that guy can use it. So we're all about spreading the love and helping a friend out if he doesn't need a set of shocks. So congratulations, Nick, and thank you all for sharing those posts. We will we'll continue to do those fun things because we appreciate you guys. Melissa's watching because she's an old friend and she probably misses me. Anybody else have any questions? We will answer them if you get a question in here quick. If not, and I miss your question, you're more than welcome to shoot me a DM or email, text, phone call, whatever your preferred method of communication is, and we'll get it answered. No questions? All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you all have a fantastic week, and that's it for now. Take care. Thanks for supporting CSI.